A new report has now confirmed that a lot of the weapons that end up in the hands of ISIS actually come from the United States and Saudi Arabia. Surprise. So, actually, not surprise. Now, this field investigation into the origins of ISIS weaponry in Syria and Iraq has found that weapons supplied by the U.S. and Saudi Arabia to the Syrian opposition often ended up in the hands of jihadis, enhancing the quantity and quality of their armaments. Now, this same report, according which comes from the Conflict Armament Research Center, this was published on last Thursday. It found that while most of their arms were captured from the Syrian and Iraqi armies, there was a large number of U.S. and Saudi weapons in their arsenal that went far beyond those that would have been available through battle capture alone. Now, what does this say? Basically, it's saying, look, we arm Syrian opposition groups, and it's very likely that Syrian opposition groups gave those guns to ISIS. Why? Because we don't know who those Syrian opposition groups actually are. A lot of them actually are terrorist groups. And here we had Republicans and some Democrats that were like, oh, no, let's go and arm the Syrian rebels. Well, who are the rebels? Do we know who they are? And why should we get involved at all? That's not our war. The best thing that we could do is actually take in refugees and do humanitarian aid. We should not be getting involved and dropping bombs. Unfortunately, that's what we're doing. And we're also supplying arms to Saudi Arabia, which, by the way, Saudi Arabia is now dropping on Yemen. So that's what we have. Now, the researchers found that Iraq and Syria have seen ISIS forces use large numbers of weapons supplied by states such as Saudi Arabia and the United States against the various international anti-ISIS coalitions that the two states support. Now, what's our biggest ally in the region against ISIS? That's the Kurdish militia. So, look, we have supported the Kurdish militia, and the Kurdish militias have actually been incredibly effective against ISIS. Now, that brings another wrinkle into this, is that Turkey is not a fan of Kurdish militias, and so now they are attacking the Kurds because they don't want to have a heavily armed militia next door that they believe is a terrorist group. So, look, the whole region is messed up. And then you introduce more of our weapons into it, and it gets even more messed up. Now, the U.S. and Saudi supplied weapons were all manufactured in EU countries, and Washington and Riyadh had broken contractual clauses prohibiting their transfer, according to the CAR report. Evidence collected by CAR indicates the United States repeatedly diverted EU-manufactured weapons and ammunition to opposition forces in the Syrian conflict. ISIS forces rapidly gained custody of the significant quantities of this material. Now, again, that's because we don't know who the opposition is. We arm them, and they quickly turn around to arm ISIS, probably because they are ISIS. We shouldn't be involved. Why are we involved? It does us no good to be involved in these ridiculous conflicts. Now, I'm not saying that, and this report does not actually say that most of the weapons came from the U.S. And the EU. I just want to point out that at the analysis of more than 40,000 items that were found in total, found that 90% of the weapons and ammunition were actually made in Russia, China, and Eastern Europe. So it's not just us arming people in that area. It's other countries. It's loose arms from, look, Russia. I'm not saying that they're arming them completely. I'm saying that there's a lot of armaments that have gone around since the fall of the Soviet Union. So you've got all that weaponry floating around. You got people that want to make money off arms contracts and things like that. Look, there's a lot of guns floating around out there. And is it a surprise that a lot of it falls into the hands of terrorist groups? Shouldn't be at all. So, and the last thing that they need is more weapons from us. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.